Today we're going to look at Boolean expressions, and basically what one of these expressions does, it boils down to true or false. And to give you a really quick example of that, let's open a program, start a new file, and first we're going to start with assignment. We're going to say a equals 7. We just assigned 7 to the value of a in our program. Then we're going to say if a double equals 7, and then colon. I hit colon. You notice there's an automatic indent because what Python is doing, it knows that I want to have a condition. If a does equal 7, I'm going to put a block of code in there. So it does the automatic indent for me. So now we got to tell it to do something. If a equals 7, we're going to go tell it to print hi. And hit enter again. And you notice that it's still lining me up with that indent. So like if I were to print something else, it would print both of these if a equals 7. So what we're going to do is we're going to put another print down here, and we're just going to say with this print, we're going to say done, stating that we're done with our program. So really simple program. It assigns a the value of 7. And it's looking to see if a equals 7. It's going to do an evaluation that's going to result in a true or false, and that's a Boolean expression. We're going to run this program here, and then we're going to look at the different operators. You notice there's instead of when the assignment, when I assign something, it's like a equals 7, but when we're looking at it for evaluation to be true or false, we have the double equals. So now we're going to run this, and it's wanting us to save it with a new name. We're going to call it test. Oh, we don't have test 6, so we'll call it test 6. We're going to run it, and it says hi and done. If we look back at our code goes in there. It says a. It looks to see if a equals 7. If a does equal 7, it prints hi. So we're going to change a. Let's say a equals 6. We're going to run the same program. Okay. Now you notice that it totally skipped the print hi and went right to the done because it evaluated a double equal signs 7 and said no, that Boolean expression is false. I'm not going to do the code here under the if statements indent. Now let's look at some of the other operators we can use. Now we have the not equal to with the exclamation point. So now we have a equals 6 being assigned, and if a not equal to 7, we will say hi. So we're going to run this. Okay, now we can see that it says hi again because a is equal to 6, which is not equal to 7. And we go into this section of code, this code block that we can see here by the indent. Another operator is the greater than. So now we're going to say if a is greater than 7, then do that particular block of code with the print high. So we're going to run it. And it doesn't run because 6 is not greater than 7. So the Boolean operators evaluates and it says, nope, false. So this code does not get executed. We also have a less than. So we're going to look to see if a is less than 7, which it is. So when we run this one, we would expect to see high and then done printed. So let's run this one to verify that. High and done. There's also the greater than and equal to. So this, seeing if it's a is greater than or equal to 7. Run this. And it isn't, so we don't fall into there. There is also the less than or equal to, and we know it would fall in there because a is 6, which is less than 7 or equal to 7. So 7, if this were 7, you know, this would work also. So we're going to run it, and indeed it does go in there, print high and also done. Now I want us to look at the logical operators. There's 3 of them. There's and, or, and not. And to make this example little easier to understand, let's add another variable here. Let's add b. Say b equals 3. So get down to our if, and we can use a logical operator to kind of tag on and other conditions. So we're going to say and b is 3. So we want this to be true. So we want to. So what it's going to do is going to evaluate under 2 conditions this time, because we use the and to put these together. So it's going to go look at, see if a is less than or equal to 7, which it is, which is true, and then go and b equals 3, which is both true. And as long as both of these conditions are indeed true, it will execute the print high or whatever you put in here for your code block. So let's run this. And it went in there. So let's change b to 2, just so we don't meet the second condition. So it's going to come here and it's going to go, yes indeed, a is less than or equal to 7, but does b equal 3? No. So we get a true and a false, and since it's an and means both conditions need to be true, and we're going to look at or here in a little bit. Since both of these conditions are now not true, we shouldn't execute this block of code with the print high. So let's run this. And we didn't. It went in there and said, well, both conditions aren't true. I'm not going to execute it. I'm just going to print done. So if we look at the or, and let's put that in there, or. So now we're using the logical or operator. And so what or is asking is either or. So now it's going to look for this condition and then this condition, and if any one of them, if A is less than or equal to 7 or B is equal to 3, which we know it isn't because we're up above, we're assigning it to 2, it should still print high. So let's run this. And yes, it prints high because we changed the and to a or. So now we're saying if either one of these are true, let's execute the code block associated with that particular if. Now, another one is the not, which is kind of an interesting one. So let's go here and let's get rid of that things we're doing with the B, and so we have A is greater than, or actually A less than or equal to 7. We're gonna change that. We're gonna say equals 6. So what we know over here is that A does indeed equal 6. So when we run this through here, this should print high. This should print the code associated with the if. But if we use the not operator, put it in front of there, the not operator is going to say, okay, if A is not equal to 6, so it kind of reversed what we did with the equal. So it basically reverses the value of the expression. So let's run this, and when we run this, it runs, and we can see, man, it didn't execute that last section at all. It went right to the done. It's because we used the not. So it essentially reversed the equals and turned that into a not equals. So if we were to remove the not and then rerun, it goes here and says, does A equal 6? And yes, it does. So it executes this section here associated with the if statement. And so those are the three logical operators: and, or, and not. What I want to do is talk about the else if clause for if statements. That is really useful in Python. It's called else if, and it's abbreviated little differently. It's EL IF. And what this lets us do is add another condition to our if statement. So we're going to go here, and we're going to change this to greater than equal to 6. And it says if greater than or equal to 6, print high. So we want it to print out something different. So we want another conditional block. So we're going to have an else if condition. In the else if condition is going to say if A is, how about less than 6? So we have greater than equal to 6. and we have less than 6. And you see how idle and indents for our next block of code here under the else if. And we're going to go print low. So we're gonna change the high, and instead of a greeting, we're gonna change it to the actual word high and indicating a high value. And we have low down here, and we still keep our done being printed there. So let's go ahead and run this, and we know it's going to be 6 for our first run through. So run. It's going to run, and it's going to give me a syntax error because there we go, because I was using single quotes where I should have been using a double quote. So let's rerun that. Okay, so this time it goes and says, okay, A is 6, so we're gonna have high and then done. But this next time, let's touch this else if statement by going 5. So this time it's going to go through and realize, is A greater than or equal 6? And no, it isn't, so it's not going to do that. Then it's going to come down, drop down here and say, okay, is A less than 6? And if A is indeed less than 6, it should print low. And in this time, A is less than 6, so we're pretty sure it's going to print low. So we're going to run it. It's going to go through, and it's going to hit low and print it low because the else if condition was met. Now, there's another option to these if statements. I'm going to show you here. And this is the else. And the else would happen at your end to give you a kind of an extra area to put it, to give conditions. And you could have as many of these else ifs as you want. You could have 10 of these. And then at the very end, you could have kind of a catch-all. And that's if none of the conditions were met at all, that it's going to print this. And so we're going to say print question mark. So it's just going to print a question mark. And we're gonna change it and go away from the high-low values. We're going to say if A equals 6 with the double equal marks, A equals 6, and then we're going to have a 5. So if it's 6, it's going to come here and it's going to say something, and let's make it say something, high 6. And this one here is going to say high 5. And if it's not 6 or 5, it's going to fall into this else category. And like I said, we could add more else ifs in there if needed. We could have a 4 and a 3. And basically, it would go and meet any of these conditions and print what the block of code associated with those conditions. And at the end, with this else, we don't have to have the else. If we leave the else off, you know, if it doesn't meet these conditions, nothing's going to be printed. But if we leave the else on there, it acts as a kind of like a default. So, if none of these conditions were met, we're just going to say, this. I have a question mark. You could have it say whatever you wanted. You could have it say conditions not met. But we're just going to put question mark. So, A is 5. So this time, it should say, hi 5. We're going to run it. And we have hi 5. Let's give it another value for A, so we don't hit anything in our actual first if or else if. That we want it to go all the way to the bottom. None of these conditions were met, and kind of the default else condition. So let's give it some different. Let's say 7. So A is going to equal 7. We assign it the value of 7. It should hit here and say, well, it's not 6, so it's not going to execute this block of code. And then it's going to go, oh, it's not 5. It will not do this. But we have this else here, so kind of a catch-all. And so what we should get is a question mark, and then it should go down here and print done when we're done. So let's run this and determine if it's really indeed going to work as we planned. And yes, it does. So it went through the first one, since it was 7. Condition wasn't met, nor the else if was not met, and kind of defaulted to the else, which is the actual kind of a catch-all.